But meanwhile, the band is absolutely falling apart. Axl's in his own world. Everybody else is on heroin. Duff can't stop drinking. Slash can't stop drinking. Slash has got to be propped up for music shoots. Axl decides he's got a Rolling Stones concert, and he references Mr. Brownstone towards Slash, saying Slash is doing too many drugs there, and if he keeps it up, he'll be out of the band, and everyone's fighting. And they basically made the Illusions album by phone, and this is hit or miss. This is do or die to be a Guns N' Roses fan. When you get those Illusion albums, pretty much you had to have at least one of them. And I remember I had the blue and purple cassette, Illusion 2. Use Your Illusions 1. My brother had the red and yellow one. And sometimes when you put them together next to each other, it looked kind of cool, but that was really it. It wasn't really that big of a deal. But yeah, everyone in the 5th or 6th grade, you had to have one of them, because that meant you were a true rock and roller. And you had to try to grow we went to Catholic school, you had to try to grow your hair as long as possible, which just meant that my red hair could just barely go over the collar, because I thought it was actually going to flow like loose and straight and thin over my collar, just like Axl Rose. And my hair does not do that. It eventually it goes out and upward, and it does it, and just kind of. But the thinning part eventually did come, so we did get halfway there. There was a turning point, because now you have these 2 albums, and everyone else, you had to have those 2, and you had to have the Metallica Black Album, and then all of a sudden you see those little purple Pearl Jam 10 cassettes popping up. That blue Nirvana Naked Baby album is floating around, and the Temple of the Dog, which had the video of Eddie Vedder looking like he's peeing in the woods, and the whole deal. So choices, you start to have more choices, and your heroes are starting to die. The Illusions themselves that's a shame. I don't even know what they are. You listen to this day, there's like great songs, and the biggest critique is that they're all over the place, and they are. It's I couldn't appreciate November Rain and Estranged and 2 Don't Cries. The balls on that band. They just rewrote the same song twice. Put a Don't Cry on each album, and you're an original version 1 Don't Cry, or maybe you're an off to the side kind of more sensitive number 2 Don't Cry. And I guess there's just 2 types of people in this world. Who the hell knows, right? Couple of covers on those 2. That's another thing. That's why I was saying earlier how Guns N' Roses was not musically this island as people like to remember it, as just this flash in the pan. We're talking about a band that did a Knockin' on Heaven's Door Bob Dylan cover, which almost makes it they did it to the point where it's practically a Guns N' Roses song in so many people's eyes. And you might even argue the same for Live or Let Die, doing a Beatles cover on the first Illusions there. They took it, and talk about taking it and making it your own. They ran with those things, and Axl and Slash, they were rock gods like no other. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing them. And once Cobain showed up and started mumbling and dressing dirty, things took a change. One of the ways to determine how cool a band was, visually, you had to see them on MTV, and for me, you had to see them on Headbangers Ball. And sometimes you saw the host of Headbangers Ball, Ricky Rackman. You saw Ricky Rackman actually in the November Rain video. So that created a weird kind of, is this a little bit of bias or nepotism or favoritism going on? But I don't think anyone really cared. I mean, Guns N' Roses was too big to appear on the show by themselves, just themselves anyway by that point. But that's when Guns N' Roses started having, the videos started getting a little crazier. We're jumping off boats into dolphins, and we're hiding from the police on top of the ceiling, and there's funerals and weddings, and Slash is playing outside a church, and then, like I said, then there's Ricky Rackman showing up, and then there's Axl's actual girlfriend, and then there's the Garden of Eden video, which I like because it's just the words going real fast with a little ping pong ball on top of them, and that would be done to death by a lot of bands later. There are good rock songs on the Illusions. You have Don't Damn Me and Garden of Eden on the first one. You got Locomotive on the second one. Of course, You Could Be Mine came out. That made me want to hear the entire Use Your Illusion 2 more than anything. You Could Be Mine was the hit coming out for Terminator 2. And it had to be an R movie. There's no way that Home Alone 2 it could have You Could Be Mine. It had to be Terminator 2 from the second Illusion, of course. I don't know if that was on purpose, but they had that whole number 2 sequel duality theme going on there. It had to be Terminator. It had to be a giant ass-kicking robot with explosions where everything blows up and people curse their brains out. And so Almost to Illusions 2 made me just want to, like, I just thought the whole album would be about the Terminator. I didn't know. And in hindsight, wouldn't have been a bad idea.